play an instrument. I find that when I'm playing piano, all of a sudden I'll catch that my mind is somewhere else completely, in the past or the future or in some weird idea. But it can't be a piece that you're working on. It has to be something that you've learned before, specifically scales or technique exercises, and it allows for balance between execution and daydream. Morning pages. This is from the author Julia Cameron. The way that she recommends to do it is to write longhand for 3 full pages of a notebook. I don't do that. I set a timer for 5 minutes and I type. But for me, this is the most sustainable way to do it. Now, this is sacrilege for anybody who consistently does authentic morning pages, but this works for me. And you're supposed to do this without a filter. Just write whatever comes to mind. And this is weird at first because your thoughts when you do this will start off being things like, I'm writing, I'm in an office, and I'm writing, I'm in an office, and I'm writing. But soon you'll find that the monkey mind won't be content with just that. Before you know it, you'll have a bunch of ideas and thoughts and random memories pouring out onto the page, especially when you do it every day. Lucid Dream. John Steinbeck wrote, "A problem difficult at night is resolved in the morning after the committee of sleep has worked on it." I think that's great. Unless the committee is evil and you have nightmares every night. No, but I've actually found that, especially in the early morning, I keep a notebook right next to my bed. And as I'm in this weird state between asleep and awake, I have these thoughts that come to mind. And honestly, a lot of them are garbage. But sometimes there is gold strewn about the trash. Diamonds sometimes, rubies, treasures from your dreams. The one thing that you have to do with this is make sure that your handwriting is legible enough, because there have been plenty of times where I wake up and I read things like, "Amok Duke Sneepdop Heart," and the idea is lost. Plus, lucid dreaming is just fun. Don't you want to fly? Don't you want to have sex with people that you always dreamed of? Don't you want to have sex with Ryan Gosling? You can do all this in your dreams and then write it down. And some of it is worth sharing. Write jokes. I got this one from comedian Jerry Seinfeld with his technique of don't break the chain. And every day that he would write, he would put a big red X on the calendar. And as each day went by, the red X's, the chain would get longer and longer. And the longer it got, the more of an incentive he had not to break the chain. For the longest time, I wanted to do stand-up comedy, and I did it a couple times, but then I was so scared. And this was from someone who worked in the Broadway community in New York. I was afraid to do my own material. I always hid behind other people's. But joke writing has helped me to move past that. And the way that I did that was just to lower the bar. Instead of having to write for 15, 20 minutes every day, that's way too difficult. I decided I can write one joke a day, one sentence, even if it's one word that makes me laugh. I've completed the day's work. This might seem laughable, but now I have reams of content over all these different subjects, and it's really cool to be able to go and sift through it. A lot of this is garbage, but there is good stuff in there, and it seems to find its way to the surface when it needs to be found. In the book Mastermind by Maria Konnikova, she says, studies have shown that creativity is fluid and that training enables people to become more creative. When you schedule creativity, even if it's a small amount, it seems to come up more and more easily. Idealists. I got this one from the writer and comedian, Renaissance man really, James Altucher. And every day you make a list. You pick one subject, you make a list of 10 ideas about how to improve it, about how to do it, about how to change it. At first it's kind of weird and clunky, but then you realize that no idea is really terrible. Yes, it's going to be left on the cutting room floor, but if it gets you to the final product, then it has value. John Cleese said, creativity is not a talent. It is a way of operating. Cleaning. Cinderella, Cinderella, Cinderella. I don't like cleaning, but every day I do have to do the dishes. I mean, I don't have to, but I will do. I do the dishes. But I do love how weird and random thoughts seem to spring out of doing these mundane activities. Whether it's doing the dishes or dusting or cleaning the toilet. I don't know if it taps into some universal ether, but it seems to bring the ideas. Walking is one of the most important things to me. Solvitur ambulando. Solvitur ambulando. That's not it, but it is solved by walking. That's what that means. Kierkegaard wrote, I have walked myself into my best thoughts, and I know of no thought so burdensome that I cannot walk away from it. Nietzsche walked with a notebook every day between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. And he said, all truly great thoughts are conceived by walking. And one of my favorite things about walking is you can say, hey, make a note. And then it immediately, without friction, adds these dimes to my notes app. And then when I get home, I can figure out where they go within what project I'm working on. And with saying that, you probably think I'm a shill for Apple, which I am, but any device or notebook will do. And what's really cool about this is if you walk every day, you start to learn the sights and the sounds of the seasons. Even if you live in a city, like a Henry David Thoreau. Shower. Everyone loves a good shower. Oh, that's right. Ryan Holiday says, breakthroughs seem to happen with stunning regularity in the shower. Ideas just come to us in the shower. They rain down on us. Like rain. ASMR. One man's creepy is another man's treasure. That's how you say it, right? But I think that's part of experiencing ASMR. Some of it is wonderful, and some of it is the worst thing that you could possibly imagine. I tend to use it on its own or as an add-on to some of these other activities, but it feels good. Yes, ASMR. I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm safe and in the womb, but it works. And now for a bonus tip. The first 9 all had the same thing in common in that it's usually a solitary experience and one that is peaceful or boring. The last one is Muse. It seems like there are certain either friends or family members or lovers or a community of people that when you interact with, they bring out the best in you. It opens up something like a portal within you where ideas, they just spring forth. Austin Kleon says, creativity is always in some sense a collaboration, the result of a mind connected to other minds. Now, this is the most important part of all of this. When you have this amazing idea or this shitty idea, write it down, okay? You will not remember it. If you think you will remember it, add yourself to the pantheon of artists who have forgotten the world's best ideas, including me. Elizabeth Gilbert says, this is the other side of the contract with creativity. If inspiration is allowed to unexpectedly enter you, it is allowed to unexpectedly exit you. She goes on to talk about the experience of the poet Ruth Stone. As Stone was growing up in rural Virginia, she would be out working in the fields and she would feel and hear a poem coming at her from over the landscape. It was like a thunderous train of air, and when she felt it coming, because it would shake the earth under her feet, she knew she had only one thing to do at that point. Run like hell, as she would be chased by this poem. The whole deal was that she had to get to a piece of paper fast enough so that when it thundered through her, she could collect it and grab it on the page. Other times, she wouldn't be fast enough, so she would be running, and she wouldn't get to the house, and the poem would barrel through her and she would miss it. And it would continue on across the landscape looking for another poet. As Greg McKeown says in his book Essentialism, the faintest pencil is better than the strongest memory. And that's it. Time for a walk.